Your cat isn't just being quiet. They're trying to tell you something without making a sound. Most people assume silence means peace, that if a cat stops meowing, stops following, or simply sits still nearby, everything must be fine. But sometimes, quiet is not comfort. Sometimes, quiet is observation. And what this sudden silence really means might be something you haven't considered yet. Because when your cat becomes quiet around you, it's often the beginning of a silent conversation. One where they are watching closely, listening carefully, and deciding how they feel in your presence. You may not hear the message right away, but your cat is already sending it. And here's where it starts to get deeper. At first, the change is small. Your cat is still in the room, still near you, but something feels different. They sit a little farther away than usual. They watch instead of approach. They stay calm, but distant. This is often the moment when your cat is trying to understand a shift in their world. Not necessarily a big change. Sometimes it's subtle. A new routine, a different mood, a louder home, less attention than before. Cats are incredibly sensitive to emotional energy. They notice tension before words are spoken. They sense stress before it shows on your face. So when your cat becomes quiet around you, they may be reading the room, studying the environment, trying to decide if everything still feels safe. But that's not the most important part, because silence is not always about fear. Sometimes it's about trust being tested. You might notice your cat watching you more carefully than before. Their eyes follow your movements. Their ears turn toward every sound you make. They're not avoiding you, they're paying attention. This behavior often means your cat is collecting information, learning whether your actions are predictable, whether your emotions are stable, your presence still feels familiar. Cats depend on patterns. They rely on routine to feel secure. So when something changes, even slightly, your cat may respond with quiet observation instead of immediate reaction. And here's what most people miss. Silence can also be a sign of emotional protection. If your cat once greeted you loudly, followed you from room to room, or demanded attention, and now they remain quiet instead, they may be protecting themselves from disappointment. Not because they don't love you, but because they are unsure how you will respond. Maybe you've been busier lately. Maybe your schedule changed. Maybe you've been more distracted, more tired, or more stressed. Your cat notices these things, even when you think they don't. So instead of seeking attention and risking rejection, they stay quiet. They stay still. They wait, waiting to see if the connection is still there. And this is where it gets even deeper. Sometimes quiet behavior is not about the present moment at all. It's about memory. Cats remember how interactions feel, not just what happens, but how safe or unsafe those moments were. If your cat experienced sudden noise, rough handling, or unexpected tension, they may become quieter afterward. Not as punishment, not as anger, but as caution. They are slowing down their behavior, reducing their visibility, making themselves smaller in the emotional space around you. It's their way of protecting their sense of safety. And most people never realize this is happening. They see a quiet cat and assume everything is calm. But inside, the cat is carefully measuring the situation, watching, waiting, listening. And here's where the message becomes more personal. Sometimes, your cat becomes quiet because they are trying to reconnect with you in a different way. Instead of meowing, they sit nearby. Of demanding attention, they remain present. Instead of calling out, they watch silently. This is not withdrawal. This is quiet companionship. Your cat is saying, "I'm still here." They may not make noise, but they stay close enough to feel your presence, close enough to observe your mood, close enough to share the space. And that kind of silence is not emptiness. It's trust expressed quietly. But there is one situation where silence carries a stronger meaning. If your cat suddenly becomes quiet after being consistently vocal, if the change feels sudden and unusual, If their behavior shifts without an obvious reason, don't ignore it. Because silence can also be a signal of emotional discomfort or stress. Your cat might be feeling overwhelmed, confused by changes in the environment, or uncertain about their place in your daily routine. They may not show dramatic signs, no loud cries, no obvious panic, just quiet observation. And that quiet moment is often the first signal that something needs attention. Not panic, not fear, just awareness. Because cats rarely express distress loudly at first. They start with silence. They slow down. They watch more. They speak less. And they hope you will notice. So the next time your cat becomes quiet around you, pause for a moment. Look at their body language. Notice where they sit. Notice how they watch you. Ask yourself if anything has changed in their world, or in yours. Because to your cat, silence is not empty. It's communication without words, a way of staying close while protecting their emotions, a way of observing before acting, a way of asking, quietly, are we still safe together? And when you understand that message, you respond differently. You move more gently. You speak more calmly. Presence, not pressure. Because to your cat, this was never just about being quiet.